The morning was shattered by a sharp cry, a sound so raw it sliced through the quiet like a knife. Emma froze, a half-peeled orange slipping from her fingers and hitting the kitchen floor with a dull thud. "No!" Her voice trembled as she called her son's name, her heart already pounding. She spun toward the back door, where Noah sat on a low bench, his small face twisted in pain. One hand gripped his left foot, the other pressed against the wall, as if he might collapse without it. His custom orthopedic shoe, built to support his fragile ankles, lay discarded beside him, and something dark and metallic glinted inside it. "Noah, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Emma dropped to her knees, her hands hovering over him. Noah, just 9, was trying so hard to be brave, his jaw clenched, tears streaming silently down his pale cheeks. But the pain was too much. He could only whimper, rocking slightly. Emma's mind raced, her training as a juvenile injury prevention officer kicking in despite the panic. A fall? A sprain? He'd just been putting on his shoes, a routine they did every morning before his special school program. Her eyes darted to the shoe he dropped, then to the one still half on his right foot. Gently, she reached for his left foot. He flinched hard. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. Let me see," she said, her voice steady despite the alarm bells screaming in her head. Noah loosened his grip, and Emma's breath caught. Angry red welts marred the tender skin of his instep, arranged in a strange, linear pattern. Frowning, she reached for the discarded shoe. As her fingers brushed the opening, something snapped with a VY-size saw, click saw, the metallic jaws missing her skin by a hair's breadth. She yanked her hand back, gasping. Nestled deep in the toe of Noah's shoe was a mousetrap, its copper trigger gleaming like a predator's eye. Her blood ran cold, then boiled with a sudden, furious clarity. This was no accident. Someone had placed an armed mousetrap in her disabled son's shoe. The question of who saw hit her like a punch, but beneath the shock, a steely resolve took root. She looked at Noah's tear-streaked face, the painful marks on his foot, and vowed to find the culprit. First, though, she had to protect her son. "Okay, buddy," she said, forcing her voice to stay calm. "Let's get this other shoe off," very carefully. Her fingers probed the right shoe's interior, her heart in her throat. Another trap, identical to the first. Rage surged through her, so intense it nearly choked her. She disarmed it with trembling hands, slid the shoe off, and scooped Noah into her arms. "Shoo, it's okay. Mommy's got you. We're going to the doctor to check your foot." He buried his face in her neck, sobbing freely now. The orange lay forgotten on the floor, a small casualty in a morning turned nightmarish. At the emergency room, the antiseptic smell and hushed voices blurred together. Dr. Patel, a gentle pediatrician familiar with Noah's cerebral palsy, examined his foot. The traps hadn't broken the skin, but the bruising was severe, and Noah's wide, fearful eyes betrayed the deeper trauma. "Severe contusions," Dr. Patel said grimly, after Emma explained the traps, carefully avoiding her suspicions about who was responsible. Given Noah's condition, this is especially cruel. The pressure could have caused worse damage if his bones were weaker. She documented everything, her notes precise. "I'll need to report this as suspected intentional injury, Emma. You know the drill." Emma nodded, her throat tight. She'd filed such reports countless times in her job. Being on this side of one was surreal, but it hardened her resolve. The system she worked in would now work for Noah. Back home, Noah curled up on the couch with his favorite stuffed bear, his injured foot propped on a pillow. Emma gave him pain medication and sat beside him, stroking his hair until he drifted into an uneasy sleep. Only then did she let herself feel the full weight of her emotions, the snap of the traps, Noah's cry, the image of those welts replaying in her mind. She went to the back door, picked up the orthopedic shoes, and placed them, along with the disarmed traps, into EVY Denke bags from her work kit. She photographed Noah's injuries, the shoes, the traps, the bench where he'd sat. Her training became a lifeline, channeling her fury into purpose. Their neighborhood, Maple Grove, was picture-perfect manicured lawns, tidy houses, and hefty HOA fees for the promise of order. Emma had moved here after her divorce, hoping for a safe haven for Noah. Most neighbors were kind, if reserved, but one stood out like a sour note. Linda Harper, the HOA president. Linda lived for control, patrolling her golf cart, her sharp eyes hunting for infracciones trash can out too long, a slightly overgrown hedge, a kid's bike left on a driveway. Her sugary smile never reached her cold eyes, and her pronouncements were the stuff of neighborhood legend. Emma had avoided conflict, keeping her yard pristine and Noah's medical equipment a walker, sometimes a wheelchair tucked away. But there had been moments. Linda's lingering stares at Noah's leg braces, her subtle comments about his unsteady gait, a VYB of disapproval Emma had chalked up to Linda's prickly nature. Now, she wasn't so sure. Who else could it be? A random act of cruelty seemed unlikely. The traps were placed in Noah's specific shoes, likely on their porch, where he sometimes left them briefly to air out. It required knowledge of their routine, access to their space. This felt personal. Emma's mind flashed to an HOA meeting months earlier, where Linda had proposed a vague aesthetic harmony bylaw, her eyes flicking toward Emma as she mentioned cumbersome medical devices in public VYEW. At the time, Emma had brushed it off. Now it felt ominous. Then there was the incident with Noah's therapeutic tricycle. Linda had approached her, voice dripping with fake concern. "Emma, dear, some residents feel that tricycle's a bit bulky for the sidewalks. Maybe Noah could use it in your backyard." Emma had been polite but firm. "It's a medical device, Linda, and he's entitled to use it on public sidewalks. It's vital for his motor skills." Linda's smile had tightened, and that was when Emma first sensed her disapproval might target Noah specifically. The complaints had escalated since then. Notes about the unsightly ramp at Emma's front steps, though it was HOA approved. Gripes about the faint clink of Noah's braces when he walked to the mailbox. Each was framed as an HOA violation, but the undertone was personal. Emma had documented every one. Her responses, citing accessibility laws Linda seemed eager to ignore. A week before the traps, Noah's backyard swing seat, visible from Linda's yard, had been tampered with, one chain partially unscrewed, a hazard Emma caught during a routine check. She'd had no proof it was Linda, but the suspicion had gnawed at her. Now, the traps were undeniably a size escalation. Emma needed proof. Her GPO training demanded denke, and she'd apply that rigor to protect her son. She remembered the small security camera above her porch, installed after some package thefts. She checked her cloud storage, hands shaking. The footage from that morning was still there. At 7:15 a.m., just after their morning walk, Noah had left his shoes on the porch mat to dry from overnight rain. At 7:18, a figure appeared, medium height, wide-brimmed hat, sunglasses, light jacket. They moved furtively, bending near the shoes for a few seconds before hurrying away. Emma's pulse raced. The posturite was Linda. She saved the clip, her mind racing. It wasn't airtight, but it placed Linda at the scene, acting suspiciously. She needed more. The traps were standard Victor brand, but where had Linda gotten them? Emma drove to local stores, describing the traps. At Carter's Hardware, the owner, Mr. Brooks, nodded. "Victor Easy Set, sold a pack of 4 last week. Lady came in, said she had a shed problem. Middle-aged, blonde, fancy tracksuit. Linda Harper from Maple Grove." Emma's heart leapt. 2 traps were in Noah's shoes. Were the others? She thanked Mr. Brooks, a grim satisfaction settling in. A direct confrontation risked Linda destroying denke, so Emma planned her move. The upcoming HOA meeting, Linda's stage, would be her undoing. Over the next few days, Emma built her case. She compiled Dr. Patel's report, photos of Noah's injuries, the shoes, the traps, a still from the footage, and Mr. Brooks' sworn statement. She researched laws on assault, child endangerment, and injuries to disabled minors, noting enhanced penalties. She spoke to Mrs. Coleman, a quiet neighbor who'd watched Noah while Emma investigated. Mrs. Coleman hesitated, then said, "I saw Linda near your house that morning. Early. She looked nervous, kept glancing around, holding a small paper bag, like from Carter's. Another piece clicked into place. The HOA meeting arrived, the clubhouse filled with tepid coffee and board chatter. Linda stood at the podium, crisp in her pantsuit, radiating confidence. "Welcome to our discussion on maintaining Maple Grove's beauty," she began, her voice smooth. Emma sat in the second row, her EVY Denke file in her lap, Noah safe with a sitter. Linda droned about recycling rules. Then her gaze landed on Emma, a predatory smile flickering. "On the topic of standards, we must address appropriate play. Certain equipment can disrupt our community's peace. I trust we'll be considerate." Her eyes locked on MESA, clear jab. Emma's adrenaline surged. She raised her hand. "Linda, may I speak?" Linda waved dismissively. "Be brief, Emma." Emma stood, her voice steady despite her hammering heart. "I want to talk about something serious: child safety, specifically disabled children's safety." The room hushed. Linda's smile wavered. "This isn't the place," she started. "Oh, it is," Emma cut in, her voice rising. "Last Tuesday, my son Noah was deliberately targeted. Someone put armed mouse traps in his orthopedic shoes." Gasps erupted. Faces turned to Emma, shocked. Linda paled. "Mouse traps?" Mr. Brooks called from the back. "Like the ones I sold you, Linda?" Linda glared at him, then forced a look of concern. "That's awful, Emma, but what's this got to do with me?" Emma opened her file. "I have EVY Denke." Linda, suggesting you're involved. She held up a photo of Noah's bruised foot, then the traps in his shoes. Murmurs grew. "As a juvenile injury prevention officer, I investigated. This," she said, raising the security still, "is you on my porch at 7:18 a.m. near Noah's shoes. Care to explain?" Linda stammered. "I was dropping off a newsletter." Emma's voice was ice. "Newsletters come by mail, and you gave me mine the night before. You're holding nothing in this footage." She presented Mr. Brooks' statement. "Mr. Brooks, did you sell Linda a 4-pack of traps?" He nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Pack of 4. Emma pressed. "2 were in Noah's shoes. Linda, where are the other 2? Your shed? Your garage?" Linda trembled, her face ashen. "This is slander," Emma continued. "Mrs. Coleman saw you that morning, acting suspicious with a hardware store bag. I have a medical report calling this intentional." She faced the crowd. "This wasn't a prank. It was an attack on my disabled son because he didn't fit someone's VY shown of this community. That someone is you, Linda Harper." Linda opened her mouth, but no words came. At that moment, 2 police officers entered. Detective Hayes, who'd taken Emma's report, stepped forward. "Linda Harper, we need you at the station regarding an incident with Noah Vance." Linda's composure shattered. "She's lying. It's a mistake," she shrieked as an officer led her out. The room was silent, the neighbors' faces a mix of shock and respect. Linda's reign was over. In the days that followed, the police found the remaining traps in Linda's garage, along with the hat and sunglasses from the footage. Faced with overwhelming EVY Denke, Linda crumbled, charged with aggravated assault, child endangerment, and injuring a disabled minor. The HOA ousted her, issuing a public apology. Neighbors rallied around Noah, bringing gifts and support. Maple Grove transformed, even building Noah's Park, an accessible playground Linda had once blocked. Linda's trial was grueling. Emma and Noah testified, relievying the trauma, but the EVY Denke was ironclad. The judge was unyielding. "Your actions were malicious and cowardly, targeting a vulnerable child." Linda got years in prison, restitution, and a restraining order. Her house was sold to cover fines, its perfect exterior hiding no more secrets. Noah healed, his laughter returning as he played in his park. Emma's work gained new purpose, advocating for disability awareness. One sunny day, watching Noah swing, Mrs. Coleman said, "He's a strong boy. You're Noah." Emma smiled. "We both are." The ordeal had scarred them, but forged something strong: a resilient child. A fierce mother, a community reborn. Now, what do you think? Was Emma right to confront Linda publicly, or should she have gone straight to the police? Could Linda's actions be excused as a mental break, or was she just cruel? Should communities do more to protect kids like Noah? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you talking.